Hello everyone, this is Major General Al Rosende, the Commanding General of the 63rd Readiness Division, and I have Chaplain Siebold here today because we're going to talk about a couple of things. And one of the key things that we want to talk about today is communications. We need to really help ourselves get better at talking to each other, especially since we're stuck in the same household, in the same physical environment for a long period of time. I know that we were talking about the increasing level of stress as we move along this extended kind of almost confinement as we isolate ourselves so that we don't become a participant in spreading the infection.
Right.
Also, families, we spoke about the last time, that they're now confined to the same space altogether. And so all of those things, just having them all together throughout the whole day is a stressful situation.
It's like being in a car. I remember when I was a kid, we were all in the car together.
Cross country, right?
Cross country, yeah, driving across country, and it used to get pretty heated in the car.
It does. Even back then, you probably didn't have air conditioning.
No
either.
air conditioning. No, we're poking each other. We're fighting. Yeah, I remember.
It's funny how things
it was
escalate
like
too.
Medea. It was like Medea.
Like Medea,
My
right?
mother was about to go over the seat at us.
Absolutely. And it begins to escalate because at first it's a fun thing, and then finally it gets annoying, and they're still doing it, and then it escalates to another point. And that's basically what's happening now, right? At first you kind of ignore it, then it starts to bother you. You start, hey, stop, do, calm, move, and then it blows up. So what are some of the tools, some of the things that we should put in place as a family to kind of help address that kind of pressure that starts to build?
Right. I think probably one of the best tools, especially if you're confined to families are stuck all in the house together, and they're not used to that. Especially if they're not used to homeschooling, you really have to set up boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be really good boundaries, and there has to be. You really have to get organized. Even if you're not organized, you really have to learn to be, because you really need to set aside time. Say, you need time away from each other. You need to really plan that into your day. This is time when I need space. I need space. Even kids sometimes need space to be away from their siblings, to decompress or do whatever they do when they have their alone time. So that really has to be built in to their daily routines, especially. And then the communication aspect. I remember reading that if you have a set routine, even for meals, if you eat together at certain times, it's not all random or whenever they feel like eating, but if you sit together as a family, I guess since you're all together now, you can do breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Usually it's just dinner because everybody's doing stuff all day, and they come back, but now you can do breakfast, lunch, dinner. If you sit together at a certain time every day, it builds in a structure that de-stresses some elements within that. So that would be very helpful.
Yeah.
I don't know, what do you think?
Yeah, as you were talking about that, I remember when the kids were growing up, I have two boys, as they were getting older, and they were into the soccer and the baseball and the roller hockey and all lacrosse and everything else that they were doing. As Hispanics, we never ate at 5:30. That's something that is not part of our culture. So we would eat late anyway, but sometimes we would eat very, very late. But one of the things is that I think we always sat at the table together.
Right.
And my wife, where she comes from, is like we were talking about the coasters, right? You have to have a coaster somewhere. Any table, even if we're at a campground, we'll always have a tablecloth. We'll always have placemats. We'll always have napkins. So it's a very formal setting. So even if we're eating at 9:30 at night or 10, we went through the whole routine. Where we laid out the silverware, we laid out the plates and so forth. And that was one of the things that was very consistent in our family. And so regardless of that, there were certain rules in the family. I mean, we always sat at the dinner table together. We didn't watch TV as a family. We do that now as we're old people. We do that as we're having dinner. But we always had to do that. And so that was a routine where we kind of caught up with each other. Sometimes it was quiet the whole time we were eating because everybody was kind of tired and thinking about the day. But we're Hispanic, so it wasn't really very quiet either. So I would tend to think that's a really good aspect of trying to establish that kind of a routine where it becomes quiet. I've even heard of families that when they do sit down at dinner table, they don't bring their cell phones into the table.